Hello everyone, my name is Catherine, and recently I asked the Splatoon community on Twitter for their hot takes about characters, weapons, uh, anything about the game really. And we're gonna be going over that, so if you enjoy, please subscribe, like the video if you want to see more of this stuff, and yeah, let's get into it. Our first take comes from at Midtown Luck, which says, "Off the Hook is really mid, Marina is cool, but Pearl's kinda lame, and I don't like their music much. I feel like people only like them because they're gay and for nostalgia purposes." So, I don't really agree with this. I feel like they are very well developed and uh, very well established characters. I think Pearl, in my opinion, is honestly the cooler one out of the two of them, but I think they're both pretty good characters. I don't really have a problem with their music either. Yes, their style can be a little polarizing to the typical sound of Splatoon, but I think that adds to the charm of the entire franchise, just having multiple different genres that can kind of work together. And that might not be everyone's thing, but for me personally, I like it, so yeah, Off the Hook is cool to me. Our next take comes from at Gorbis Board, which says, "Deep Cut is unoriginal and they're boring." Yeah, I have to kind of agree with this. I mostly blame this on the fact that they basically got shafted in their own story mode, but yeah, I really don't like Deep Cut. Their arc in the story mode was kind of rushed and felt unnecessary. Their personalities just kind of feel like repeats of stuff we've seen in other characters. Like, I kind of feel like a lot of them just feel a little too similar to the other idols, and especially Big Man. He's a very disappointing male idol because he just doesn't really do much, if that makes sense. But I mean, they're totally serviceable. I just think they're just kind of lame. So yeah, I agree with this. Our next take comes from Outshows, which says, "Mini Spotling should be lightweight and be able to charge full speed midair." Now honestly, yeah, I fully agree with this. For one thing, Mini Spotling already has like naturally higher jump height when it's jumping while shooting and charging, so it would only make sense to allow this to be a thing. And on top of that, Mini being lightweight would honestly help open up its gear, because right now you have to run such an absurd amount of run speed to make it optimal that I just feel like it doesn't allow for too much creativity with Mini builds. I feel like just making it so you can run 2 less subs of run speed and you get 2 free swim speed subs on top of that, that could be really good for Mini. I don't think it'll ever make it meta because its kits kind of just suck, but it'll definitely help it when it actually gets a good kit. So yeah, I totally agree with this. Good take. Now I'm gonna combine these next two because they're very similar to each other. Frostmoon says Blaster should be removed entirely, and Riley says Range Blaster is the most annoying weapon in the game. Now, as someone who really likes playing blasters, you'll see some in the background as I'm talking. I obviously do not agree with this. I think blasters are a very unique weapon class that have a purpose in this game, except for one of them, which I'll get to later. But specifically in Range Blaster's case, I think it is a totally fine weapon. It's very easy to actually fight it, especially if you have much more mobility than this weapon. I get if you play a more slow weapon how this might cause you some issues, but overall I think Range Blaster is very reasonably powerful. It's not too broken, but it's also very strong. So I can see why it's annoying, but I just personally don't agree with this. But thank you for your submissions nonetheless. Once again, I'm going to be combining these next two because they're very similar to each other. Fiji Central says, "I think Mint should have never been added to the game." And Naoga says, "Splatonas are not fun to use or fight against." Once again, big Splatona user here, I kinda have to disagree with both. So, Splatonas as a whole are very fun to fight in my opinion, because due to the way they move and the way their attacks work, it's kind of like a very fun game of cat and mouse where you're trying to read how the sword player plays. so you can see how you can counter them, which in my opinion is pretty fun. And to use, I mean, what else do you think my opinion is going to be on this? But now specifically for Mint Decapitator, I think it is a fine main weapon. It definitely is powerful, and it is kind of a noob stomper because of how it's designed, but it has the necessary weaknesses to make sure that weapon isn't uber broken. It's fine to me. I'm happy it's in the game. If anything, I feel like it could use some buffs, but yeah, I like Mint. These next two takes I want to talk about in conjunction with each other. Dimity the One says Splatoon 2 was more fun than 3, and Fractal Physics says Splatoon 3 is a fun and good game, but people rush through the content and immediately expect more. Now, I will say I do believe Splatoon 2 is the worst game of the two, and arguably the worst game in the entire franchise, but my reasoning for that is mostly because of the environment that game kind of built. It was a lot more focused on team coordinated based play, and because of that, individual power was very much scaled back. A lot of the specials were a lot less impactful on their own. A lot of the weapons were given kits that were made to work with other teammates rather than giving you your own power, and because of that, the game just kind of does not feel fun to play. Either on your own or with friends, because if you play on your own, you're just a lot weaker than you could be, and if you play with friends, especially in a casual environment, you have to take the game very seriously, or else it kind of feels like your power isn't where it should be, and you just feel significantly weaker than the competition. That's a problem I don't think Splatoon 3 has, because this game really focuses on giving players more individual power when it comes to either kit design or the strength of certain options and stuff along that lines. However, I have to disagree that people rush through the content too much, because the game just honestly does not have enough content. 2 years and I still feel like we could have more. Like, we don't even have third kits, and Splatoon 1 and 2 were able to accomplish that in the same amount of time, if not less time, than Splatoon 3. And I just don't find that excusable in the slightest. This game absolutely should have more content than it does, and it's so unfortunate it doesn't. And yeah, hopefully that improves at some point, but I kind of half agree. But yeah, I just feel like Splatoon 3 just needs a little more, if I'm gonna be honest. Next up, we have two Turf War related takes. Luigi Twix says, ranked battles not fun and Turf War is better, and Helios Chosen says, Turf War has absolutely no skill-based matchmaking. So, I mean, yeah, Turf War has never had skill-based matchmaking. It's been that way since Splatoon 1 and 2, because the way matchmaking works in this game, at least for Turf War, is that the game prioritizes trying to fill a room more than it does trying to find players of a similar level or skill level. Which is why you'll get like level 1s and level 100s in the same game. And because of that, I feel like it allows for more broad matchmaking that ranked doesn't have, which is probably why some people may see that Turf War is the better mode, because it's less stressful and you can run into anybody. But in my opinion, I just don't believe that Turf War is all that good. It's a very good beginner mode, and if you're playing casually with friends, it's also great, but it gets really repetitive when you're playing the mode by yourself, and it's one of the biggest issues with Splatfest for me, is that Turf War gets very stale, and because of how Turf War is played, the weapons that are good in that mode are very restrictive, and it's just not that fun to me. I'm gonna have to disagree with that, honestly. For our next take here, Bad Opinion Squid says, Octocane is the peak of Splatoon level design, and the longer levels of hero mode feel consistently better overall. I don't really agree with this. Now, the levels being longer is a nice bonus, but the problem is the levels are longer because the levels had to be so dumbed down to the point where the only way you can give it some sort of depth is by making them longer overall. And the reason why they're so dull and repetitive is because the levels were made so that you could play all of them with all, I believe, 9 weapons in the game. Like all 9 weapon classes. And because of that, the levels feel very repetitive because that's how they were designed. They were not meant to be very intricate due to the fact that it had to work for so many weapons. So I just feel like it's probably the worst hero mode, and everything honestly tops it. Nothing against people who like it, I just don't think it's all that good. For our last take today, Bruh Noob says the fact we don't have more torpedo and fizzy bomb weapons is weird considering how many sprinkler weapons we have. Yeah, I agree. The sub distribution in this game especially is honestly really strange. The 3 newest sub weapons they've added, fizzy bomb, line marker, torpedo, those are on the least amount of weapons compared to every other sub, which is weird because in Splatoon 2, torpedo and fizzy bomb were already only on 5 weapons, so they realistically are still not on enough. And line marker being the newest sub in the game, also not having that many weapons is unfortunate. Although I don't think anyone really wants more line marker weapons, but I would be 100% more open to those 3 subs specifically getting more kits if 3rd kits ever happen, because those are, especially fizzy bomb and torpedo, those are such fun sub weapons. I really want to see more of them. But that's all the time we have for today. Thank you all for watching. If I couldn't get to your take, I am very sorry. I tried to get to as many as I can, but thank you for everyone for contributing, and I hope to see you all in the next video if I ever do this again. Okay, thank you, bye.